Hey, what's up guys, it's ElasticSpyder here, and in today's video we are looking at a community replay. In this community replay we are looking at Kubazet, I think that's the proper way to pronounce that name. And he is playing in his Tier 8 Soviet destroyer, the Kiev. Now the Kiev is actually an interesting ship that I have yet to play very frequently since since the updated Russian line, and then also just in general. I haven't played it in a while. Before we get too much into this replay, I would like to let you guys know how to send us a replay. If you'd like to send us a replay, send it to BIAworldofwarships at gmail.com. Please include the replay itself as well as the post-battle results and a very short description of what occurred during the battle. So that being said, let's see. Is there a good nickname for you? Kuba? I think Kuba is a good one. Kubazet's a little tough for me. Although I do think you might be Polish. Based on your post-battle results, I'm gonna take a guess that you're Polish. And so if you are, well, let me know down in the comment section below. But Kuba, he is playing as Kiev, and this is actually an interesting map for the Kiev. You don't have too many places to go. Most gunboat destroyers tend to hang out towards A and somewhat in the middle as well, with some wide flanks going on in C. So you are somewhat limited in your approach, but typically a lot of people go out in this wide area and that sort of thing. So getting radared right now. Well, what are we getting radared by? Well, it could be the 2 Des Moines, it could be a Neptune, but it looks like it is a Des Moines, so we instantly pop our speed boost and start heading out. Obviously, we're just gonna kind of just keep shooting. That's the end goal in the Kiev, is just keep shooting. The reload on the Kiev isn't god-awful, but it is not something like the later Russian ships like the Khabarovsk or even the Grozavoy. But a 5-second reload is certainly not all that bad. However, we are against tier 10, so sometimes that DPM does feel somewhat lackluster at times. But it is nonetheless, well, it's something that you have to deal with as a tier 8 and tier 10 matchmaking. So here, actually, I would say it's a good play. He's trying to spot for his friendly Des Moines by reversing. Unfortunately, the enemy Des Moines, I guess, figures out that he's in somewhat a little bit of in trouble, so he does back up. But it's nice to see trying to spot for your allies and that sort of thing. So far so good. Here it looks like we're gonna open up on the Kagero. Another good chance to, while enemy DDs are spotted, to actually take shots at them. The shell velocity on these 130 mils doesn't seem the greatest. You saw on that Kagero, it felt like he led enough, but obviously the shells didn't connect on that first salvo. However, on the second salvo it was a little bit better. Torpedoes shouldn't have to worry about, and it's actually kind of interesting how close you actually like to keep your camera. Usually I like to keep my camera far out so I can kind of get a wider field of view. So I'm curious why you do that, and if anyone else kind of does that as well. Like right now, where usually I would be really zoomed in, or I would be really zoomed out, and then you know, that way I can kind of analyze the situation. However, it seems like you like to be a little bit closer. I wonder if there's any actual benefit to that. I'm not saying there isn't, but I'm just curious what you find in yourself and in your gameplay, why you actually like to do that. But so notice it's a small play. Most of you probably missed it. Instead of actually going like this on the minimap, instead of going like this and pushing yourself into these DDs in the Des Moines, and you could have gotten wrecked, Kuba actually went straight out, which was a very nice play. You know, staying at the edge of the Des Moines radar, even though his radar did somewhat recently just get used. It is nice to see that he's at least positionally aware of where he is with respect to the enemy ships. Now this Kitakaze is not having a good time with Des Moines, Yugumo, Kiev, Montana, Conqueror, basically the whole 9 yards shooting at you. So if I was that Kitakaze, I would get out of dodge and get out of town, get out of sight rather quickly, although it does not look like he's doing that. I don't know if he's radared or what, but hopefully our buddy Kuba can take him out. Now, so here, this is kind of where you have to decide what you want to do. You know that Kitakaze, well, he's shooting now, so he's most likely going to go down. Now, there's two things you can do. You can either kind of keep going, pushing B, or you can kind of turn back and head towards your main cap, because you see a lot of, like, a couple nice big battleships, and maybe a few cruisers are also coming back to your main cap. So it's a bit, we'll have to see how this replay turns out and progresses. But I would say especially chasing ships is never... I mean, it depends on what your goal is. If your goal is just for damage, then that's, you know, a very nice thing to do. And we land a nice shell on that Kitakaze for our first kill of the game. Or you can, you know, kind of also farm damage, but you're going to give up your strong force that you're pushing with. So it's a bit of an interesting dynamic, and we'll kind of see how Kuba is doing. And it looks like Kuba is actually going to be sailing out and kind of chasing this Yamato. So yeah, we'll just have to wait and see how it progresses. Interesting thing about the Kiev is you can actually get some very nice concealment on the Kiev. I don't know what off the top of my head is, but certainly if you do concealment expert and the concealment module, you can get it down to a respectable level. I want to say in the 6.5 range. I don't think we're running concealment expert here. So our standard attackability looks like it's 7.9. Which, again, it is a Russian gunboat, so I can't argue the fact that, you know, maybe you don't have concealment expert. I can't argue that. But if you choose to do so, that is another option for some of you people that you know, like that slight diversity in gameplay. So, yeah. It also, we didn't use our smoke yet either, so that means that we don't also have superintendent. So I'm curious also what your captain build is here too. Noticing that you don't have superintendent. I'm 16,000 again. That doesn't seem like you're running survivability expert either. So I'm actually kind of curious. Maybe you have a low skill captain or something, or what? So the Kagura gets spotted at 5.3 kilometers. So what I actually would have recommended there is actually pushing into that Kagura a little bit, since you know that he's you can definitely outrun him, especially when you've got your speed boost going. Now the only problem was that there is that lion there. However, you have your smoke up, and you can use it at any time. Plus, you also have a lot of support there too. But nonetheless, you know, it's always, if you're not sure of what to do, turning out is always the best option, because the longer you survive, well, there's a higher probability that you will actually have an impact later on in the game. So from that aspect, it was a good decision to turn out. In terms of getting another destroyer killed perspective, that sort of thing, I don't know, we'll have to wait and see. But our Musashi takes that guy out, and now, interestingly enough, as I was kind of hoping, it looks like we are going to kind of be heading towards our cap again, instead of chasing that Yamato. At least kind of hanging out in the middle, kind of distracting both sides, being like, hey, Yamato, shoot at me. Hey, Neptune, shoot at me. Hey, Kurfürst, also shoot at me. And oh, look, a gearing pops up. So we're going to start shooting. again, it's Russian gunboats, so you have to shoot. That's really the only option, especially if you do not run Concealment Expert. And wow, our Musashi is just killing every single person that he runs across. Here, honestly, you could smoke up, or you can decide against it. Either way is fine. And what do you know? It's like I called it. The one thing you will have to be careful of is, yes, this Yamato is shooting, so he's going to be spotted. But if he decided to go dark, which he could, you wouldn't really have any spotting. Although I don't know if that Hindenburg's actually close enough. But nonetheless, just some things to think about. So we managed to get some 2 fires, which is pretty impressive, actually, especially considering the fact that there's a 2-tier difference, and there's also how many shells you've just shot at him. So I'm thinking that instead of Survivability Expert, you chose Demo Expert, and could maybe be IFHE, maybe, I don't know. That one I definitely don't know. That one is hard to tell just from a replay alone. Especially on certain ships. But that Yamato goes down. Looking like our team is, in terms of points, not really doing too well, but we do have a lot of HP still on the board. Ourselves, Kuba is, he's at full health. That Kagero is low. What's the other destroyer? Their other Kagero, I don't even know if he's even here or not. But it's looking like, oh, there is the Kagero. Interesting. So he actually went out wide instead of just falling back. So that's actually going to be an interesting problem here for our team. That means our battleships have to... That means our battleships need to reposition accordingly. But we'll see how that turns out. Torps out on the Kurfürst. Obviously, you want to shoot down that plane first, and I think someone else shot it down, just so your torps don't get spotted. Now, I know the Kurfürst has hydro, but hey, just a few tips here and there can help. So it looks like our Montana, ooh, he looks like he actually survived, although there's more shells incoming. There's still a lot of HP on the enemy team. Their Kagero goes down. I think there's only one Kagero. Yep, only one Kagero left. But as I mentioned before, you always want to be in the middle of a battle. Not necessarily in the middle of the map, but you want to be the center of attention, putting yourself in good positions such that you can just farm as much damage as you can. And again, see, this is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that you've got Demo Expert, which is fine. I do think Demo Expert is a viable pick on the Russian destroyers. However, I don't think it is my first pick, so to say. Now, interesting enough, again, Musashi DCPs. So, hoping that our fire chance is good, which has been somewhat... It's been pretty good, actually. As of late, I mean, we're seeing 163 shell hits and 10 fires. I mean, it's pretty good. It's like, what, 15%? Something like that. So, very nice, and we do end up getting a fire. And this is the fundamental problem with destroyers, gunboat destroyers in general. You really have to be hitting that superstructure. If you're not hitting that superstructure, as you can see, we're just not getting much damage. And this is kind of where the AP kind of starts to shine, especially with the Soviet destroyers. Is that even though this Yamato, or this Musashi, is somewhat angled, well, you can still get very good damage because armor penetration, it relies on a few facts of armor angle, the penetration of the shells, which, you know, granted at 13 kilometers probably isn't that good, but when we're talking about the upper armor belt of a Musashi being around 32 millimeters, certainly a lot of shells have that penetration at that range. Whereas HE shells don't have that penetration, so yeah, it's just something to think about, and you can kind of see this with the Republic. You gotta fire. Now you can actually probably switch to AP and start farming his 32 millimeter belts. Notice he also took Torse, which maybe he flooded. Seeing that he's still, it looks like you're not getting any more damage. So I've got a good feeling he DCP'd. However, we're gonna have to go out of our smoke because nothing is spotted. We do have to be careful though, since we don't have survivability expert. We do have to rely on our smokes much more, and since we don't have superintendent, again we have to rely on our being far enough away ability to kind of counter that. So I would, if I were you, Kuba, I would actually kind of rethink your build. Again, I don't know what your situation is with your captain points, but I would start to rethink your build. I do think that you should either pick superintendent or pick survivability expert, one of the two. Smoke indirectly increases your HP because you're not spotted for nearly the same amount of time because of the smoke. Or you can go with the, hey, I've just got more raw HP, I can kind of run around. I would say smoke, just because you can always have that little bit of flexibility. And boy, there are a lot of ships that are low. That Musashi on 5k, 6k and healing. Let's see if our team can finish him off. Maybe our Musashi can come in clutch again. Which he has. He's gotten, I think, 4 kills. 3-4 kills. But it looks like we're just going to farm the Republic, which is, I mean, honestly, when you have a tier 8 that doesn't have a lot of armor, especially all around, I would definitely recommend doing that. And our Musashi comes in clutch there at the end, killing their enemy Musashi. And here I would actually, now that Des Moines is shooting at you, I'm thinking just kind of ride the edge. You don't want to be too far away, and I know 13 kilometers isn't that far away, but you want to be close enough where it can still have an impact. And since that Republic goes down and the Musashi gets a crack, and very nice job to him, looks like we will be okay for this replay. See if we can't kill the Des Moines, get another kill on the board. We managed to pick up a Confederate right there. Are we going to get the kill? He's on fire. Shells are coming in. Seattle takes the kill. So that'll end the replay here, and let's look at the post-battle results. Alright, so looking at the post-battle results, not the best result certainly, but 106k in a bottom tier matchup is always nice to see. We did manage to pick up a Confederate, almost got a second kill there on that Des Moines, and we had a pretty good fire chance. 300 shell hits, 15 fires, a base capture, not all that bad at the end of the day. So we ended up doing very well because we were shooting at a lot of higher tier opponents, and then also like did a lot of damage to certain ships. So nice game. And again, 100k by any means in a Kiev it's not the best I've seen, but it's also not the worst. I would say it's right up there. It was a solid game. Our Musashi kind of stole the cake a little bit. He did pretty well, 2400 base XP. We did quite well as well, 1900. And yeah, it was actually it was a long game. It was very close throughout, and it was an interesting game altogether. So damage distribution, we were, oh my gosh, look how close we were. We just needed one more tick for that witherer here. Very, very close. 233 damage, or 223 damage off on that. Very close, but yeah, it was a solid game overall. And without premium, we're still doing all right. It's going to be a little bit more of a grind, but hey, you know, premium isn't always the go-to. But nonetheless, I hope you guys enjoyed the replay. Again, send us some replays of your own at BIAworldofwarships@gmail.com. And I hope you enjoyed the replay, and I hope you have a wonderful day, guys.